in this video we'll talk about novel. Okay, what is a novel? A novel is a fictional prose narrative of a significant length. Okay, a novel became popular in the 17th century. Now we'll also take up the different types of novel, and this is a very important part considering your entrance examination, be it MA or be it NET JRF. Okay, so first we'll take up the autobiographical novel. As you can understand, a novel that tells non-fictional autobiographical story but uses novelistic techniques such as fictionalized dialogue or anecdotes to add color or immediacy or thematic unity. Okay, for example, I'll tell you what is an autobiographical novel. Okay, now there are biographical novels and there are autobiographical novels. Biographical novels are the novels or the works which you write about a person. Okay, लेकिन वो person खुद के बारे में नहीं लिखता. For example, a biographical novel, I can write a biography on a person, but that person is not writing his biography, I am writing his biography. For example, if I have a fellow named Sam and I am writing about the life story of Sam, but Sam here is not the author. Okay, and if the author writes his own or her biography, then that becomes an autobiography. ठीक है, अगर सैम खुद ही के लाइफ के बारे में, खुद की बायोग्राफी के बारे में खुद लिखे तो वो बन जाती है वर्क ऑटोबायोग्राफी. एंड इफ आई राइट अबाउट सैम्स लाइफ देन इट बिकम्स अ बायोग्राफी. सो वी टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट अ बायोग्राफिकल ऑटोबायोग्राफिकल स्टोरी बट यूजेस नॉवेलिस्टिक टेक्निक्स. तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि उसकी स्टोरी बिल्कुल ही नॉन फिक्शन का कोई उसमें इन्वॉल्वमेंट ही नहीं रहेगा. ओके, द स्टोरी विच इट विल बी नॉन फिक्शनल. ओके, द मोड विल बी नॉन फिक्शनल, लेकिन उसमें फिक्शन के टेक्निक्स यूज़ किए जाएंगे एंड फिक्शनलाइज डायलॉग्स होंगे. हो सकता है कि वो डायलॉग्स रियल हो सकता है वो डायलॉग्स फिक्शन हो. लाइक इन बॉलीवुड यू सी देर आर मैनी biopic. Okay, we call this biopic. Now you can see why we call them biopics and not autobiographies or autobiopics, क्योंकि वो खुद के बारे में मूवीज नहीं बना रहे हैं. And one of the most important work or the most recent one which is very vivid in my memory is Mary Com. If you see, there are many movies like Mary Com. Okay, and we have MS Dhoni as well. These are biopics. They talk about, there's a character, but that character is not making his movie. His movie is made by a director or anybody else. So it is a biopic or a biography. That same idea is about a biography, but here we are talking about autobiography, where the author writes about his or her own life and you see the first hand experience. Okay, and one of the best example is here I have placed here is of Maya Angelou, I Know Why Cage Birds Sing. This was again a question in this year's COCET examination. Now we have Bildung's Roman novel. This is a German term. This term which you see over here, this is a German term which means formation novel. Okay, Bildung's Roman novel is a formation novel, a novel about a child or development into maturity with special focus on the protagonist's quest for identity. We have here James Joyce, The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man in 1960. This is a very favorite author and favorite work of NET JRF. NET हमेशा ही इस author के बारे में question पूछती है. I don't know why, but they love this author and his work. We have Charlotte Bronte की work Jane Eyre, again very one favorite of the NET examination. We have George Eliot, Mill on the Floss 1860, Charles Dickens, Great Expectations 1861, and Thomas Mann, The Magic Mountain in 1942. These are all examples of Bildung's Roman novel. Okay, अब I'll give you the example of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. If you've seen the movie Fitur is based on The Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. इसमें एक character रहता है Pip, P-I-P, and the full name is Philip Prip, but the protagonist is called as Pip. They simply call him Pip. Okay, now the story talks about the character is Aditya Roy Kapoor plays the character of Pip, and the story revolves around Pip. वो कैसे बड़ा होता है, कैसे लंदन जाता है, how he meet Margaret, Stella कौन है, then you'll get to know about Miss Havisham and उनके घर के बारे में. Okay, so this is the basic argument and how it revolves around a person, and you will see in Great Expectations कि there's a quest for identity. Pip is always in quest and identity. If you'll see the movie Fitool, जब उसे पता चलता है आदित्य रॉय कपूर को, and I think उस वर्क में उसका नाम होता है नूर. Okay, when Noor gets to know about that the work which he has built or the art that he has created is actually created by is actually a word, the position that he has got there is something which is gifted and not built by him. ओके, पिप हमेशा कोशिश करते रहता है, एंड आदित्य रॉय ऑल्सो कपूर उस मूवी में यही कोशिश करते रहता है दैट ही समवेयर मेक्स हिमसेल्फ एलिजिबल फॉर द गर्ल नेम इज स्टेला, एंड इन द मूवी यू सी फिरदौस. वो हमेशा अपने आप को, नूर रहता है, वो हमेशा इस कोशिश में रहता है कि मैं फिरदौस के काबिल बन पाऊँ. एंड इन द नॉवल पिप इज़ ऑलवेज अबाउट स्टेला, कि वो कैसे स्टेला के लायक बने. सो यू नो ही इज़ ऑलवेज इनटू अ क्वेस्ट of identity, and this can be very well seen in the work of Charles Dickens, The Great Expectations. Now we have the third category, which is the epistolary novel, and this is a novel written in the form of letters, okay, exchanged by characters in the story, and this was popular in the 17th century. Now we have Samuel Richardson's Clarissa, Mark Harris' Wake Up Stupid, Alice Walker ka The Color Purple, and Linda Kaufman's Special Delivery. Now here you can see Samuel Richardson की Clarissa and Alice Walker की The Color Purple. This work is very important. Please remember everything. Alice Walker ने लिखा था, Color Purple लिखा था, and 1982 में लिखा था, and this belongs to the genre of epistolary novel. Okay, please do remember each and every detail. The examples which I have cited here are the most important examples, so please do learn the examples by heart with the dates. This is the problem, you people forget the dates. Do remember the dates. Now we have the fourth one, which is a historical novel. Now you can see why they are named so. Okay, आप नाम से जान सकते हो कि इनका काम क्या है. A novel set in the early historical period that features a plot shaped by historical circumstances of the period, and this began in 19th century. This is a very important fact. Who is the person who began, who is the founder of all this thing? Walter Scott. Walter Scott began these things in the 19th century. Okay, and वो ऐसे novels रहते हैं कि उनमें जो circumstances रहता है, सारे circumstances historical scenes रहेंगे. Okay, we have here Michael Ondaatje, The English Patient in the early 1900s, and we have Walter Scott's Ivanhoe. We have Charles Dickens' A Tale of the Two Cities. This is centered around the French Revolution. We have George Eliot's work Romola in the year 1863. Now the fifth point, we have the fifth category is novel of ideas. The author uses a platform to discussing ideas. The character and plot are of secondary importance. Okay, and here we have Jean-Paul Sartre, Nausea. He is a French author and philosopher, and इनका बहुत बड़ा ताल्लुक था existentialism से. We'll discuss him when we'll talk about the existentialism, and we will also talk about the postmodern. We'll also take up him as an author when we'll take up the we'll take up French literature. Now the sixth point, we have novels of manners, and this is a novel that focuses on the social customs of a certain class of people, often with a sharp eye of irony. Okay, तो sharp irony होती थी इनके works में. Now we have Jane Austen's novel are prime examples. Now there is a work by Jane Austen which begins with the line that every woman, every eligible woman, every wealthy man is in search of a good wife. Okay, and ये बहुत बड़ा it's an ironical statement. It's an ironical statement given by Jane Austen. वो उस पर अपनी, ये एक एक्चुअली टिप्पणी है, इफ़ यू से इट इन हिंदी, ये कटाक्ष है. तो दिस वाज इन द वर्क, आई गेस, like you can say that marriage is a very important theme in the works of Jane Austen. We have Pride and Prejudice. I think this is a very important line in Pride and Prejudice. Now we have Picaresque novel, and this emerged in the 16th century Spain. And picaro is a Spanish term for rogue, okay, who is a rascal and who lives by his wits and shows little alteration all throughout his life. So he is not a very dynamic character. But if you take up here, and he has detailed scoundrel exploits, realistic in manner and episodic in structure. Now, here we have many examples. We have Thomas Nash's The Unfortunate Traveller, Mark Twain, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Saul Bellows, The Adventures of Augie March. We have Thomas Mann, The Adventure of Felix Krull, Cervantes, Don Quixote, Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe, and Moll Flanders. Now, this is a very very important. Daniel Defoe की works भी बहुत important है, and you will, if you have read about Robinson Crusoe, then you will know कि इनके कैरेक्टर्स में ज़्यादा मोरालिटी नहीं होती थी. ओके, द कैरेक्टर्स ऑफ द पिकरिस्क नॉवल, दे डिड नॉट हैव मच मोरालिटी, although you can see that it itself defines. Picaro is a Spanish for rogue, okay, who is a rascal. So there's not a very moral touch to it, but it is something which is very realistic. Okay, and इसके characters ज़्यादा dynamic नहीं है. These are flat characters. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. So these are the very important examples. Now example से ये लोग question पूछते हैं, and example से I have written only the most important examples, so it might be a possibility that you might find a question in this year's examination too from all these cited examples. Then we have social protest novel. This draws attention to the contemporary social problems with the goal of inciting change for the better. तो आप नाम से ही देख सकते हो कि social protest novel, okay, where they are trying to make a change. Harriet Beecher Stowe Uncle Tom's Cabin, a very favorite question of net examination as well as the entrance examination, and this talks about the abolitionist movement which is happening as well as the slavery. It spoke against the anti-slavery slogan tha, ठीक है. And we have Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, John Steinbeck's The Grave of Wrath, and Nandi Godimer, Burger's Daughter. These are the very important works. All the works are very important, and this was a question in this year's CUCET examination. Now, the ninth one, we have verse novel, a work which is novelistic in nature, written in verse rather than prose. We have talked about this author, Alexander Pushkin, and his work, Eugene Onegin, and Vikram Seth's The Golden Gate. These are very important, and this is a question which can be asked in DU or JNU. There's a very high probability. Then we have Carlton's Roman. We talked about Bildung's Roman. Now we'll talk about Carlton's Roman. This is an artist novel, and it talks about the development of a novelist or an artist from childhood into stage of maturity that signalizes the recognition of the protagonist's artistic destiny, mastery of an artistic craft. So ये okay, Bildung's Roman talked about a character irrespective of what, if he is an artist or an author, ये वो आर्ट की स्ट्रीम से बिलोंग करता है या नहीं, irrespective of the fact, it talked about a character's development from his very infancy, from the period of his infancy to his very period of adultery. But here, Carlton's Roman particularly talks about the journey of an artistic man, a person who is associated with art, be it a painter, be it a sculptor, be it a cameraman, be it a YouTuber, or be it anything. Okay, this genre is called Carlton's Roman, and it actually is also known as the artist novel. अब इसके एग्जाम्पल है चार्ल्स डिकेंस की डेविड कॉपरफील्ड, वी हैव मार्सल प्रूस्ट रिमेम्बरेंस ऑफ थिंग्स पास्ट, एंड जेम्स जॉयस portrait of artist as a young man. This is also a very favorite questions of net in all the entrance examination, as well as Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens himself is a very important author, and every work written by him, and they give the chronological sequence also. You have to arrange the work of Charles Dickens in a chronological order. So this is all about, these are the main genres or the main subcategories and the categories of the novels that you have to study. And please, these are the very important examples that I have written to learn the author, the work and the year respectively. And remember all the works, do study them and make a character list and the basic argument like I say about any work. I'll also repeat the same about this work.